Hello, everyone. Just waiting for people to join in. Hi, Sanket. How's it going? Brilliant. Okay. I'm just gonna wait for some more people to join in, and you guys know who our special guest is today. So yes, he's right there. I can see his message. He's online. Hi, Sambit. So yeah, firstly, welcome to the sixth episode of the Zildjian Talk with Darshan Doshi. Today, as you know, we have a very special guest all the way from Southern Oregon. He's best known as a member of the rock band Journey. Modern Drummers magazine readers have voted him number one all-around drummers 5 years in a row. In 2017, his name was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Journey. He has performed with various artists and bands across the globe, like Steps Ahead, Mariah Carey, Savage Garden, Jean-Luc Ponty, and Ustad Zakir Hussain. So, without any further ado, I'm just going to invite him so we get some more time with Steve. Okay, let's see. Hi, Steve. Hello.
Hello, Darshan.
Hi, Steve.
Very nice.
Thank you so
Nice to
much.
see you.
Same
Yes.
here, sir. Thank you so much for taking out time and also
Sure.
getting up a little early in the morning for doing this interview. Zildjian India and myself really appreciate this time, and thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So,
How is
Steve,
how is the connection? Because I have a very poor internet here in Southern Oregon on a mountaintop, so I'm
yes.
it's
Uh,
difficult.
Yes, I can. It's not the video is not too clear, but I can still hear you well, and I'm sure, like, our viewers can hear you well, and we'll
Okay,
manage with
great.
the video a little bit. So,
Okay.
Steve, tell me how are things back there? Like, what is your routine, and what have you been doing during this whole lockdown time? And I've heard that you were on a tour in Australia, and you had to rush back to Oregon.
Yes, I was on tour with Vital Information, and
Yeah.
we played in Canada at the Drumeo Festival. Then we went to
Yes.
Los Angeles and we played at Catalina's for 3 nights, and then on to Australia for a week. And then of course, we had Japan and China after that. That was
That's one.
obviously canceled. And then every gig is canceled now. So I'm back home. I have a very nice space here. You can see a little bit, maybe. It's,
Yeah.
I have my drums set
Oh,
up, and I come out here and practice every day. I take an approach where I generally start kind of slow and quiet and just practicing some jazz coordination and swing ideas, and then I'll move into whatever ideas that I feel like I want to develop, and then I record those ideas, film those ideas, and make a short solo.
okay.
See, I have my Zoom camera here set up, so we can see my
Oh,
my
yeah.
camera set up in front of the
Beautiful.
drums, and then I make a short video. I have a friend, Christian Grissat, who's a very good drummer and fellow Zildjian and Sonar endorser. He lives in the south of France, and I send
Okay.
him videos and he edits them together. And the name of it is called From the Practice Room. So every week
Yes.
I post 2 or sometimes 3 videos from the practice room with some new things that I'm working on. And actually today, a couple of things got posted today. I posted one, and it's probably on Facebook already. It takes a while for I have somebody do this for me, but
Yes.
and I'm playing a groove, kind of in a rock tempo, reminiscent of how Tony Williams played rock. That kind of
Yeah.
big rock sound. But I'm playing T-highs. So that's the
Okay.
idea of this video today, that I'm playing T-highs. So I groove, and then every 4 bars I play a different T-high using a very systematic way. First, I'm grooving, and then I play 3 times 5, and then I'm grooving, and then 3 times 6, grooving 3 times 7, and then finally 3 times 8, and then go back to the groove, and then I do the whole thing again. 3 times 5, and then 6, and 7, then 8, and
So
then the ending. So you can check that out today. And the other thing that happened today is Hiromi posted a video with the 2 of us playing together in lockdown. So the
oh
great piano player Hiromi is someone that
yes.
I've toured with, and she came up with an idea about a month ago to write 1-minute songs for some of the
Okay.
musicians she enjoys playing with. And so she wrote one for me, a 1 minute. It actually is 59 seconds long, but it's a complete composition with a solo
Nice.
section and an ending and everything. So I recorded that. Like, she sent me the music, I memorized the music, and then I played the drums from memory. I sent her the
Okay.
video, and then she played the piano to that, and she posted it today. So her Instagram name is Hiromi Music. So
Okay.
check that out, Hiromi Music.
Yes, we
Her
will surely
music
check that out.
it tends to be really hard with a lot of odd time signatures. Sometimes every measure is a different time signature. And in this case, it was something like that. The solo section is in 7, kind of a fast jazz swing 7. So you can check that out.
Yes.
So I'm
I still
I'm
remember watching
fairly
you guys
busy.
in New York.
In what? What's
I
that?
still remember watching you guys in New York at the 55th bar, where you were playing
Oh,
with
right.
Hiromi. And she just
I was
came as a
playing
guest
with Mike
artist.
Stern. Yeah, I was
Yes.
playing with Mike Stern, and then she came by. That's right. So you met her that night.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes. Yeah.
So
Cool.
even though, I'm busy, I'm very busy, and then I'm doing things like this, like with you and with Vic Firth and with Zildjian, and the live chats and lessons. I made a bunch
Yes.
of lessons for Zildjian, so I'm amazingly very, very busy during this time.
That's great. That's great, Steve.
I'm sure you
Also,
are
Steve,
too. Are you? You must be busy
yeah.
during this time, right?
Yes, I'm doing a lot of collaborations as well, and I've also started teaching a bit online, so that's doing well. And yeah, but mainly practicing, getting a lot of time to myself after a good amount of traveling over the years. It's great to practice
Right.
back and go back to basics.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. It's a good time to do
Yeah.
that.
Yes. So, sir, tell us more about your relation with Zildjian over the years. Like, have you always been playing Zildjian cymbals, and when did you officially got endorsed with them? And like, how did that the journey started with Zildjian?
Okay, well, I actually was born and raised and grew up 8 miles from the Zildjian factory. So
Wow.
I'm from that area.
Yes.
And when I was a young boy and started playing the drums at 9 years old, I had a very good teacher from that area. And the area is just south of Boston in
Yeah.
Massachusetts on the East Coast. And I had a very good teacher. He was very friendly with the Zildjian family. My teacher was.
Okay.
And by the time I was a teenager, I had met some of the Zildjian family. And then by the time I was 19 years old, I was playing with a lot of bands around that area, but jazz bands, like some rock bands, but mainly jazz bands. And I was playing with a jazz big band, and the name of the band leader was Lynn Bibiano. And Lynn Bibiano was a lead trumpet player that used to play with Buddy Rich, and he used to play with Maynard Ferguson. And Armand Zildjian and Lenny DiMuzio, the two people from Zildjian, were big fans of big band and fans of Lynn Bibiano. So in 1974, I was playing, and I met both Lenny DiMuzio and Armand Zildjian at a concert. So that's how they got to know me. And then eventually, through the years, they finally offered me an actual endorsement. Now, of course, I always bought Zildjian cymbals and played Zildjian cymbals, but I don't think it wasn't until something like 1979, after I had already played with Jean-Luc Ponty and Ronnie Montrose, and I was playing with Journey, that I actually got an endorsement. So, but I only endorsed the instruments that I really loved playing, and I grew up playing Zildjian cymbals, and also, and this is hard to maybe relate to these days, but in the years when I was growing up, there essentially was only two cymbal companies.
Yes.
It was only Zildjian and then Paiste. And that was it. There was no Sabian, there was no, there was K Zildjian in Istanbul. But at that time, that was unrelated to A Zildjian. That was like at that point, a distant family relation, and they were completely separate. And, and of course, we know a lot of the great jazz drummers played K Zildjian cymbals, like Tony Williams and Elvin Jones, especially those guys. And interestingly, most of them probably got those K Zildjian cymbals because Gretsch Drums was the distributor in the USA for K Zildjian. So if they got some Gretsch drums, they could probably also get some K Zildjians, and also the sound of those cymbals really suited the music. Eventually, Zildjian in the US bought the rights to make K Zildjians, and then they started making them in the USA at the Zildjian factory. And that was something like 1981 or 82, 83, something like that. And when they started making the K Zildjians, I ended up using those, those cymbals as part of my setup, even with Journey back then. Right. But because those K Zildjians from Istanbul were popular for the jazz drummers, I bought one of them when I was a student at Berkeley, an Istanbul K, which I still have. And actually, that cymbal is now at the Zildjian factory.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because they like to hear these old cymbals and recreate them, and they use some of the cymbals that drummers have. They'll use that as research to make new cymbals that sound like the cymbals from the 1950s or 60s.
Nice. Can we have a quick look of the cymbals that you have set up right now there? Like, can we get a quick look of that?
All right. So what I have here are the Avidus, mainly the Avidus cymbals.
Yes. Yeah.
And so these cymbals they look very old. They're only about 3 years old, but they are. And then that's the sweet ride, 21-inch sweet ride, 9-inch
splash.
A 9-inch splash, and then 18 and 19 for these crashes. So, and they're very, very thin. And these cymbals are reminiscent of what the A Zildjians were like
Yes.
in the 1960s. In the 1960s, Zildjian cymbals were light and very thin and had a very nice musical tone. During the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, drummers started playing louder and harder, and they'd break some of those thin cymbals. So Zildjian's response was to make thicker cymbals, and they didn't always, to me, they didn't sound better necessarily to make them as heavy as they did. So I really prefer these very, very light cymbals. So this is what I use. I use this setup with Journey. I use this setup with Vital Information. The only difference with Vital Information, I'll probably use a different ride. I'll use a K ride versus that A Avidus ride, because with the K ride I have, it just suits the music better. It's a lot. I can get more nuances out of the cymbal, and so that'll be about the only change. And then 15-inch hats. Those are 15-inch hi-hats also.
Yes. Do you always used to play 15-inch, or you kind of just recently shifted to 15?
That's new. I mean, I played 13 for a long time in the 90s. I was playing 13-inch, and then most of the time 14-inch. But I've decided in the last couple of years I tried the 15s and really liked them a lot. So you'll hear like today's video that I post on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, you can really hear those 15-inch hats. So check those out.
Yes, for sure. So Steve, coming to the whole Indian side of your drumming and how things started, there are a lot of questions which have come in on the Zildjian India page. I'm just going to go through some questions and ask you. So there's this question from Shravan Samsi, who's an amazing drummer from Mumbai. How's your experience of meeting the Vidwan Trichi Shankaran? And can you talk us about some specific experiences that contributed in your wanting to delve into the study of Indian rhythms, and what was the experience with Trichiji?
With Trichi Sankaran? Is that who you asked?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you just asked me a lot of questions there, but well, I started in 2002. I started investigating the Indian rhythms because I was teaching at a drum camp in Germany. And they had a teacher was from South India named Karuna Murthy, who plays Kavil. And he was teaching some Indian rhythms and Konakol. And that's how I started. And then I just practiced what I learned from him. He taught us some korvais, and I figured out right away how to play some of the korvais using stickings from the rudiments. So I use stickings like paradiddles and paradiddle diddles and things like that help me play the korvais with a nice smooth like rolls, the kind of roll sound. And then of course I started listening to different recordings, and I had a recording from Trichi. And then I learned one of his pieces. And one of them was an interesting reduction on 9. I actually can't remember it's in 5. It's in 5. I don't even know if I can remember it now, but I learned it. And it's like ta dum dum daddy kita dum da dum daddy kita dum da dum kita daddy kita dum da dum kita daddy kita dum da dum kita daddy kita dum da, something like that. And it's in 5, but it's a reduction of 9.
Okay.
And so I ended up going to Toronto, where he lives and teaches, and I've played a couple of concerts with him. So one of the things we did was that piece that he wrote, that piece in 9. I mean, in 5 with the 9 reduction. So I just figured out the stickings and how to play that on, you know, on the drum set. And then, so he's fantastic to play with. He's got amazing time and feel and amazing chops. So we had a very good duet in Toronto.
Okay. So, how did you basically? There's a question from Arun Kumar from Bangalore as well. As you were talking about paradiddles and using them in the Carnatic system. When did that started happening? Like and I remember I think in 2003 when I first met you at Ustad Abaji's Barsi in Mumbai, and you had showed me a couple of stickings of paradiddle diddle kind of a thing for fives and playing it around with the cymbals and stuff. So when did you start going into that concept, like, using those sticking for the Carnatic syllables?
That happened right away. As soon as
Okay.
I learned the korvais, that's how I played them. Since I've had so much training with the rudiments, it's natural for me to play with those rudimental stickings. And essentially, what the rudimental stickings are, it's a combination of singles and doubles. And so then I don't have to play everything with single strokes. I mix in the double strokes, which makes it easier to play very fast, and it sounds very smooth. And
Yes.
I don't know if this is going to work, but here's my practice pad. Right? I'll put it here. I don't know
Okay.
if this will work. We'll see. Let's see. I'll move the phone a little bit. No, it's really hard to. No, I don't think it's going to work. I was going to say I could try to play some of the sticking.
I think we can hear you. I think that sounds great.
So, so that's, like you said, that's a paradiddle diddle, right, left, right,
Yeah.
left, or which sounds different than if you just play it with the single strokes. You see, it sounds kind of flat.
Yeah.
But if I add, so that's a paradiddle, paradiddle, diddle, paradiddle, paradiddle, diddle, paradiddle, paradiddle, diddle. So that would be 4 single strokes, and then paradiddle, like a left paradiddle, left, right, left, left, right. So you could end on a low note. I could go to a floor tone.
Yes.
So, those are some of the ideas that using those very fundamental rudimental stickings, you can get a nice phrasing. You get a nice phrasing, and then it's easier to move them around the kit.
How do you go about the orchestration? Like, if you can slightly expand on the orchestration, because that's what I really love about your Carnatic approach, is that the way you put it on even using the double pedal now, it is something really cool. Do you expand on that?
Yeah, sure. There's a few ways. Of course, that way that I was just talking about, I would say there's now, as well as the combination of single strokes and double strokes, there's accented notes and non-accented notes.
Yes.
All right. So most of the non-accented notes I would keep on the snare drum, and then I would play the accented notes on some toms or cymbals with a bass drum to bring out the accent. So that's one way, and And of course, I don't always play the tom like on a low note because I don't. Sometimes it's too fast. I just don't have time to get to a floor tone. So it'll just be an accented note on the snare drum, you know. But using that system of unaccented notes stay on the snare drum, and then the accented notes get moved to the toms. Okay, so like a very more simple, slower approach is, let's say I'm playing like a group of 7, taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita, like that. So I would make the sticking I use for that is when you get to the group of 3 at the end of, you know, because it's 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 at the end. That would be right left left. So I would go right left right left right left left. And then I could go tom snare, tom snare, tom snare, snare. Taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takito. Or taka takita with the ghost notes, the unaccented notes on the snare. And so every time I play a 3, that would be right, left, left.
Okay.
So that would be,
so basically
you know, that makes it, yeah.
You just
so
keep adding the right left in front of the right left basically.
Yeah. So taka dimmi takita, right left right left right left left. Taka dimmi takita, takita takita, takita takita, takita takita, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, taka dimmi, taka takita takita takita, taka 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 do da. Something like that, right?
Nice. Yeah. Got it.
You know that chord, you know
yes.
that chord, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that would be, you know, simple way of sticking that. Now,
right.
Then when you talked about using the double pedal, so now with the double pedal, instead of when I get to the 3, I play hand, foot, foot, you know, hand, boom, like 1 2 3, hand, foot, foot, hand, foot, foot,
yes.
like that. So in that case, a 7 could be like this, like, you know, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Can you hear that? Like hand, foot, hand, foot, hand,
yes.
foot, foot, hand, foot. Taka dimmi takita, or taka takita, taka takita, taka takita. And then what makes it sound even cooler is when you put that embellishment. So with the hands, the embellishment of that 3 is this: 1 2 3 4, 1 2 and 3. Taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita. Right left right left right left right. You know, still has a right left left, but now I'm adding kitatom. Taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita, taka takita, 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 taka takita, taka takita, taka takita. Right? For a half part of a chord.
Yeah.
So if I was to do that with the feet, I use that same right left left for 1 2 3, but I can add that tak kita tone with the left foot as the little extra note. Tak kita, tak kita, tak kita, tak kita tone, tak kita tone. Right left right with the feet. Tak kita tone, 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 tak kita dimmi, tak kita tone, tak dimmi, tak kita tone, dimmi, tak kita tone, tak kita tone, tak kita tone, tak kita tone, tak kita tone. All right.
Got it. Yes.
It's not. It's a system that once you figure out the system, you don't have to try to change it. You don't have to try to think of something new for every rhythm. Like that system works really well. It has a sound something like kanjira. You know,
yes.
I get the rhythms like that from, you know, playing with Selva Ganesh and you know, some of the, mainly from Selva Ganesh, really from his great phrasing on kanjira like that. Yeah. So it inspired me to figure out how to play that on the drums. So that, you know, that works very well with just having that one idea of playing the 3 hand, foot, foot, and then ta kita tom, tak ta dum, tak ta dum, tak ta dum, ta tak ta dum, tak ta tak ta dum, da, You know, this kind of thing.
Nice.
So
So, so Steve,
I did. There's a drummer that lives in England named Asaf Circus, and he's very
okay.
much into conical. He has a website, and he puts up YouTube videos about conical. And I just did an interview with him that's coming out pretty soon. And I talk about a lot of this in the interview, and I do some demonstration. So when that comes out, I'll let you know when that comes out. And
For sure.
that
For
can
sure.
answer some of these questions also.
Nice, nice. Steve, how was your experience with the Master of Percussion tour and you know, collaborating with Ustad Zakir Hussain? And just tell us a little more about the tour and your experience.
Sure. Well, I was honored to be asked to do that tour, because there's all those musicians are so great, and it was so exciting to play with them. I had played with Zakir over the years, starting in 2003 when I was playing with George Brooks Summit, and
Yes.
we started touring. And actually, I think the first time I met you, Darshan, is when I came. I think it was 2005 that I came for Homage to Abaji.
Yes, yes.
And that's when I met you, and you know, we hung out a lot, and you helped me with my drums, and we, you know, had some good times in, you know, playing and practicing, and then
And
so
shopping.
yeah, and shopping, exactly. And I had a nice time with Zakir then, and then we had played together with Viku Vinayakaram at
Vikuji, yes.
Carnegie Hall. We did a concert at Carnegie Hall in 2009.
I was there. I was there for that gig.
You were there. Yeah, that was pretty
Yes.
exciting. With Giovanni Hidalgo. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so then I didn't play with Zakir maybe for a couple of years. So then he called and asked me to do Masters of Percussion, and that was very, very exciting. So we had worked out a very good presentation. Like he approaches it like you approach putting together a concert, you know, so it's a complete show, and and it was a very interesting show, and everyone was featured. Everyone had a really nice feature. And then I had two features because I did a hi-hat solo and then a duet with Selva with hi-hat and kanjira, which was very fun. And then I had my own feature that had myself playing drums and doing conical, and then playing with the whole group, you know, playing with everyone, and Niladri on sitar, you know, it was really fun to play with all of those musicians. So yeah, very exciting. And I, of course, learned a lot. When you're on a tour like that, especially with Zakir, every day is a lesson. You know, every day he's teaching us new ideas, and Selva Ganesh is teaching me new ideas. So it's a peak experience, a highlight of my career, one of the highlights of my career to do that. So very, very exciting.
Wow. Amazing, Steve. Coming to a little bit of brushes, and somebody's also asked about the Tala ones. How did you come about those brushes, and how did you kind of make these them? Like, how did you come about the idea about the Tala ones?
Well, first, when I was playing with Zakir with Summit, with the group Summit with George Brooks, I devised a drum set that was pretty quiet. It had a Sonar Jungle Kit as the basis, which is a drum set with a 16-inch bass drum and a 12-inch snare drum, and I used little hi-hat, 12-inch hi-hats and flat rides, and I used bundles like the those kind of bundle sticks. So I didn't, because it's very hard to play with a tabla and not be too loud as a drum set player,
No.
as I'm sure you know. You have to be very
Yes.
careful. And so I actually was using those bundles, and then I met somebody that was a designer, and the two of us worked together to develop the Talawans. The problem with the basic bundles, like the hot rods, is that they
Yes.
didn't feel very good to play with, because that the feel is not it's not very responsive. So the idea of putting the foam in the middle makes the Talawan have a lot of
Yes.
bounce and a
Big
nice
difference.
feeling to it. Yeah. So that we worked on together, and and just developed how, like, for instance, I have some of the original ones here, like, how far up to put this rubber. And I wanted it far enough up so if I play traditional grip, my hand is on here. Like some of the ones people make them, this rubber only comes up to about here. So it makes you feel like you have to hold it all the way in the back. Where I hold the stick,
Yes.
there's more of a balance point here. So, so all of that stuff is very specific to my technique. So, and with the rubber in the middle. So,
Yeah.
I'm really happy with how they came out. And then we have different versions. We came up with different versions. So that's that story. We still have a connection?
Yes. It just went off for some seconds. I think we're back. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Cool. Steve, can you also talk about some your influences, like especially playing brushes when you started off in the early days?
When well, playing with brushes was always a necessary part of being a drummer.
Okay.
And it, because of the time and the place that I grew up, and so that I was playing in the 1960s. I started in 1963, and then I was playing by the time 1968 and 69 came along. That's when I started actually playing gigs and playing with a lot of musicians. And in those days, not everything was electric. A lot of the musicians were I was playing with only played acoustic instruments. Like I played with play a wedding, and we would be an accordion player and a clarinet player and drums, or maybe bass and piano and drums and a saxophone. Groups like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all electric rock bands, with stacks of Marshall amplifiers, so we had to play appropriately quiet. The volume had to be like I had to match my playing to them, which was very good, really good musicianship and training. So I always played brushes from the very beginning, and I never really had any lessons on brushes. And I don't, drummers just did it. They just picked up the brushes and started playing. You just had to, because it was
Right.
part of working. And then eventually I got more into like the technique of brushes, but that came much later. At first, it's just play brushes because sticks are too loud, so you got to play with brushes, and so you
Yes.
just
Yeah.
figure out how to do it, and you listen to recordings and try to watch it, maybe because we didn't have videos. Like if you saw music, maybe a little bit on TV, you'd see something on television, or you'd see a drummer live. We used to see a lot of live music. Of course, that's how
Right.
you experience music was going to see people live. So I watched them and learned what I could. But mainly, you know, and with brushes, I would say just get, if you don't have brushes, get brushes and start playing with them. And but there's a lot of education available now with brushes. There's this DVD that Adam Nussbaum and I produced years ago called The Art of Playing with Brushes. That's very, very detailed and lots of great information about playing with brushes. But you know, just start and be creative with it. There's really no right or wrong way. It's just whatever works for the music that you're playing.
Right, right. Steve, can you quickly just talk about the four grips that you use, and do you also use the same kind of a grip thing for brushes as well, or it's mainly for sticks that you use those four different positioning of the holding the sticks?
All right. Well, you're talking about with match grip, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
with match grip, like I just do a basic kind of palms down grip like that, you know, this. And then my grip number 2 is where the hand opens up a little more, so you can hear the resonance of the stick. So if I have like the basic German grip, but if I open the hand up, it just opens up the sound a little more. And it's easier for the hand to open and close, because we want to be, you know, use the wrist, and then we want the hand to easily open and close. And then the French grip, you know, with the thumbs up, that's my 3rd grip. And then the 4th grip is holding the stick in the back of the hand, Tony Williams style, for a really big sound like that, with a wide range of motion. You can see if I use the stick this way, the grip 1, my range of motion is this much, but if I go to this, much bigger range of motion, like if you play a Japanese taiko drum, you know, this kind of big motion like that. Now with the brushes, let's see here. Hold on, I have to find a pair.
No problem.
Yeah, they're over here.
By the way, Steve, there is Sivamani sir online, and he's saying hi to you.
Tell Chivamani I say hi also. Yes.
Yeah, he can see you. Yeah.
So with the brushes, and I have this little brush practice pad. Generally, I want a lot of the brush to be on the surface. You know, and so you can play the brushes with match grip. And in fact, let me do. See if it's, yeah. In fact, when match grip works well for the brush, because let's see. Whoops. Yeah, that's it. You want all that brush to be on the head. Now, when you play traditional grip with the brushes, sometimes you don't get enough brush surface on the head, because, you know, it's a thinner sound if it's just the tip of the brush. It's a thicker sound if you get the whole brush on the head. So when I play traditional grip, I'll turn the hand over all the way. And what that does is it actually simulates match grip, because now the hand is over the brush, it's match grip, left hand. And if I play traditional grip, instead of being like this, which I get a thinner sound, I'll put the hand over the brush like that. So
got it.
In a way, I'm trying to get the sound of match grip with traditional grip by turning the hand over. So, you know, so you can just go, turn it over into match grip. And then the basic stroke is that the right hand is on the right side of the head, the left hand's on the left side, and I just go from right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then I add that skip beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's like some real, very basic drum brush technique. So just start there, and of course you can play rock grooves, you can play corvides with the brushes too.
Yes.
So, and using that same,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much for the explanation. Okay, we're just going to take a last couple of questions. This one is from Jignesh from Mumbai. So you've been on top of your game for so many years. What has been the key to being so consistent in the scene at your level? Having that classic touch in your playing still blows our mind. What is the key factor of being so out of the box and always being ready to learn anywhere? So how's been your journey?
Well, let's see. I think for me that I had a good foundation, good basic training, and that kind of basic skills is very, very helpful. So that's what I feel lucky, that I had a good teacher when I was young, and that I learned the rudiments, and I learned how to read music, and I learned basic jazz coordination skills. And then from that good foundation, I was ready to play a lot of different kinds of music. And I think over the years, I have learned how to practice, and that really does help me stay in shape. But it really helps me learn new music all the time and new ideas, because I have a good practice concept, I think. And so just to say, briefly, I think what that is that I trust the process of practicing, and I try not to rush the process or hurry the process. So I say I have to trust that I might not feel like, if I spend 2 hours practicing today, I might not feel like I've gotten any better, but I trust that I'm getting better. Because you can't always feel the progress in one day, and so it's important not to try to rush the process. So to try to rush the process means trying like too hard, and maybe playing too fast. Like if you always practice at the edge of your playing speed, let's say, probably you're practicing with too much tension, because in order to develop very good technique, you need to have the technique be flowing. And the best way to get the technique flowing is to practice slow, and is to practice not very loud, to practice relatively soft. So you really feel the sticks coming off the heads. For instance, like playing the snare drum, that you don't always play rim shots. Like a lot of drummers I notice are in the habit of always playing a rim shot. Well, if you really want to practice like what I'm talking about, like the paradiddle-diddles and paradiddles and stuff, you can't always play rim shots. Just play in the middle of the drum, for instance. Just play the middle of the drum and feel the sticks bounce, and don't play on the edge of the drum. because you develop more touch and more finesse. And just take that time to practice slowly, quietly, and trust the process. If I practice correctly, and then I practice correctly again tomorrow, and then the next day and the next day, you will slowly get better. So that's an idea of trusting the process of practicing. And I've learned it over time that, yeah, just relax, practice, don't be in a hurry, and learn a little bit, just let it happen a little bit every day. And it's the same process when I'm learning new music. I don't try to rush it if I can. Like if Mike Stern says, okay, I want you to do this tour. Can you do the tour? Yes. What? And then I say, what songs are we going to play? Oh, and he'll always say, oh, it'll be easy. And then he'll send me 5 new songs, and it's like, oh shit, it's not so easy. It's easy for him. He wrote the songs.
He wrote it.
So I learn a little bit every day. I just said, okay, today I'm going to learn this much of this song, and then the rest of the song the next day, and then the next song, just to not try to do too much. That's a really good key of having productive practice. And, so that gives you an idea. So basically it's because I know how to do the work. I know, and then the other thing is I practice, I'm not going to say I practice every day, but almost every day. Because I do think it's important to take a day off once a week, and just relax, so maybe 5 or 6 days a week I practice, and that kind of consistency pays off. That's more important.
Amazing.
It's more important to play and practice 1 hour a day than to practice 4 or 5 hours 1 or 2 days a week. That you won't get the same results, but you will get good results if you just practice a little bit every day. So
wow, that's an amazing message.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
And, I mean, even like my conical, which of course is nothing compared to some of the great conical artists from India I've heard, but for me, I just started with taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka dimi, taka takita, taka takita, taka takita. And then I just practiced a little bit every single day. And then eventually, eventually just a little bit every day. It's coming, it just comes. So, but I trusted that process. Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
okay. We just we just lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. One final question. We just
Final
want to know, like,
question.
how important is for a drummer to be versatile? Yes. How important is for a drummer to be versatile and to be listening to different genres of music? And specifically, right now there is so much information online. How do you, kind of get together yourself and kind of practice in a very disciplined way? And what are your what's your message for that, to being a versatile drummer and not just playing with one particular band?
Well, being versatile for me has been extremely important for my career. I never had a plan to be in a band like Journey. That was not part of my plan. My idea was to be a well-rounded musician that was able to be employable by a lot of different people, to be a good sideman. That was my main focus when I was in high school and then going to the Berklee College of Music. And to be versatile meant for me being able to play big band or rock or rhythm and blues or a little bit of Latin kind of style, you know, stuff like just whatever is necessary to get jobs and to learn how to read music, especially, you know, where and when I grew up was very important. So, you know, being versatile gives you more opportunity to work. And I never did have that idea to be in a band. So, but being in, getting in the group Journey was like a very lucky experience for me. You know, I wasn't looking for something like that. But I was very happy to do that, to be in a band and have that experience. But it's not like we had a band that started out from high school. It's not like U2 or the Beatles or something. It was
Yes.
it was more of a professionals that had already developed some skills, and then we got together and made some good music together. But for me, that is only one part of my musical career. Is Journey, and the other things that I do are as important, if not more important, for me personally, like having my own band and playing with the really great jazz musicians like Hiromi or Mike Stern and Steps Ahead and things like that. That brings me a lot of pleasure and is actually and more interesting to me. Playing with Zakir and playing with Selva and all these, the high level musicians, that's very important to me. So, I've had a very, very lucky and fortunate career, and having a good background and having versatility, of course, has been a big, big part of it. So I think it's very important to be versatile. As far as all the information that's available to study online, that is and can be a problem. It's not a problem for me because I can tell the difference between what I want to study and what I think is important and what's not important. But when you're young and you don't know the difference, that can be a problem. And so I think you need some good guidance from mentors and people like you, that have good experience and knowledge and can help guide younger players coming up so they're not going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
and basically, here's what for me, the key is that we want to play music with other musicians. And that's the most important thing. We want to be able to play music and be a good musician. So whatever you can do to develop your skills to become a good musician is the key. And sometimes, always being a good musician is not thinking in terms of being a drummer. It's transcending. Right. It's bigger than being a drummer. It's how do you, as a musician, communicate with the bass player and the guitar player and the saxophone and the keyboards or whatever the instruments, the singer, and those skills. You take your drumming skills, but then you have to be a good musician. So that's the mindset when you're looking online, and maybe you see like some amazing skills that people have. It's impressive. Right. And maybe there's a place for it in the music, possibly. But the main thing is to be a good musician and to have the skills to make music with other people. And, and that's what we do. That's what makes this time difficult, because we can't really play with other people right now, which is very hard. We can do our best to practice alone, and it's a good time to do that. And we can make music by sending files over the internet, and that's nice, But the real skill is when we can be in the room with other musicians and make the music happen. And just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That is the main thing, right? That's why we do this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Steve. I exactly have 23 seconds because this was a 1 hour thing that happens on Insta Live. So thank you so much once again for joining us. It is an absolute honor, and thank you for all your advice. And we will see you soon.